MP for Ningo-Prampram constituency. Honorable Akwabana Pom to saying.
Jusuminia Obi, Afishapa.
Afipapa commentary.
Afisa na John Mahama the first appointment of ministers to run the next government.
By the 12th of January, not February 2025. Now was sworn in a real.
More than 1 month. Now the parliament should be getting ready to vet his first set of nominees.
Which I hope you would be part of, right?
John Mahama, but we will contribute our quota in whichever role we find ourselves.
So mostly, so members of the minority are likely says so party by power. Position it depended the committees almost survey or so and their roles on that committee. In your case, so several I know of the communications committee, right?
Yes.
And which other committee?
Public accounts.
Oh, public accounts.
The past few weeks have been asking simple questions. That
are you sure? Are you sure? Say simple.
Oh, Obi. Semi bizarre. Say which year will you turn 60? Who to have won't mean year no? So you
no,
can do the
calculation. No. Yes,
it's a very simple question.
No, say nipa no. I can say a private edemano.
A very private. I buy a month for no. That's why I want to share. The taxes that people pay is what pays you. Sure. How can I be private? And maybe some many of PK now team in China he was leading that course. Because I say, now parliamentarians. As I said, the public pays us our date of birth, our hometowns. Maybe everybody academic qualification. Now our parliament website. And say, how can a public officer who earns public salary say basic information to say age private. There's nothing private.
But did you have any information about the age and because I know say for such public officers, no ABR or 1060 the mandatory legal age for retirement. It means I'm contract extension.
Article 199.
Yes.
And stipulated the age for retirement in Ghana. 1991 say it would be 60 I say retirement.
Yes.
1992 HSA would be 45 from 45 we bet me call voluntary retirement. And 1993 say would be 60 or mamping bet to me extend it up to a maximum of 5 years but not more than 2 years at a time.
Okay.
Until bet me 1 year and 2 year contract. And the 199 of the constitution is clear. Ninti I asked the follow-up question after almost 1.5 hours or answer a question was with the 62 or by the 63 I feel way.
Okay.
Now the question is would that so our position? It's not a crime. Say with the 63 would that so controller general. It's not a crime. But it will be a crime and an offense. Say would that so a bra would need contract. Because the constitution says would the 60 I say a contract. And the question we need to ask ourselves and they say send controller and accountant general payroll system net no would this 60 would ding is automatically deleted from the payroll. As I say you're no longer supposed to be on the payroll. So that's how we tried to take out ghost names and stuff. And so with the 60 now for 2 years and 3 months would that's so a jumemu even if you were to get a contract, your first contract would have been maximum 2 years. So you should be on your second contract. And the information now he confirmed with his answer and they said for 2 years, 3 months he's been at post without a contract. And he's been drawing salary. And
meaning his name is not being deleted from the controllers.
So it means that Obikacho says, see, I want the digitization, I clear ghost names now. I caught a ghost at the public account because per the way the public service works and the controller and accountant general works, without a contract, your name can't be reinserted beyond 60. And a banner for that period of time, 2 years, 3 months, or that's any salary. You get the question, and those were the critical issues. And you cannot when you some deputy director be another director be of some he's
the main man.
This is the main man for revenue, the controller general of the Ghana Revenue Authority, which must say any post you understand? He's the chief revenue mobilizer for government. And see, how do you keep somebody at post in such a sensitive, critical position for more than 2 years after their retirement age without a contract. And in all of this period, he's busy signing very funny contracts. SML, trying to sign a new contract with that's supposed to be between some Axon whatever, some Ghanaian company, Axon, yeah, Jifru, say the Bema Tatani, IPMC. I mean, some kind of funny things going on at the GRA, you know, and I mean, the past few weeks, the kind of information I've gotten on the GRA, information that generators are warmer to. Can you imagine, say, GRA got generators with your taxpayers' money for 2 years? Woman abandoned generators, brand new generators, over 40 generator sets abandoned at a warehouse at North Industrial Area for 2 years. Emma, we are airborne.
Generators to do what?
Generators that were supposed to, they claimed they were buying generators for all their offices, their main offices across the country.
Okay.
Already, we've shared generators, we've shared prices now. You see how inflated the prices are. Omakoji invoice for Cummins Ghana, which is a known Ghanaian generator company. Generator, no, Cummins in a ton of 100,000, and Oma 160,000. And then they are buying 5 of that. Over 60 generators. 40 to 60 generators thereabout. Okay, fine. Why inflate the price? No, because they use a shadow company to do it. Generators, no, you are deliver generators. No, must deliver or warehouse be not industrial. It's been at the disposal of the sun and rain for 2.5 years. Nobody has moved the generators. And it's as though say obi refise ya to generators are. And this is a GRA that is supposed to be raising revenue for us. And this is being headed by a man who has no contract. So there are very critical issues in that place.
And for his specific issue, you know, committee, you know, because when says sitting area, you sit as members of the committee to then decide recommendations. What are you recommending for him to be done to
we're still in those set of meetings. So about 3 weeks of sitting. We are. Then the committee puts everything together. Then we do an exit conference. Then our recommendations are now sent to plenary.
To plenary, sure.
I think Parliament need number bobo who you better defend a report, no, and then Parliament bet to me directives on the basis of that. And you see, it's important because engineer Nana Tuata, local government service, on also by Yabisano, or say, oh, me more contract, because on also the 62. Oh, on also the 62, or that's all. A be move ban next this week because of Kofar sending Kofar date of birth certificates. What even makes this more important, more troubling? They say in 2020, President Akufo-Addo Esuma, the finance minister, so Umbra Parliament. Oba and say President Akufo-Addo say obi already 60 contract bill obi enkofie,
and it's on record.
It's on record. I have a copy of the letter. Would 60 a coffee. The only reason I ever extended with contract and say you have a skill that is essential and in short demand. Yet it's becoming evident. President Akufo-Addo came to say one thing through the finance minister, and he's doing another thing. They are giving contracts. Obia sending me someone's contracts. Nipa need the 60. Yaman the contract. You ask yourself, say, Ejuma no. Are you telling me that there's nobody in Ghana who can do this? You know, I don't have a problem with people over 60. There are people who are over 60 who are still very sharp. Okay, but nobody asked the president to come and make that commitment. On one side, sorry, yes, our commitment. I'm a media for boss, man. What can't check Ghana for say may say? No. I mean, it smacks of a lack of principle and honesty.
Yeah, it's true, and I think that's why again that media traction. It to me, and I think the fact that he differed in giving an answer
to a question. Now, time now you no. Now I've been a crash. Was making rain in heaven. Now you I've been here in
it's really, so the park has been exciting in the last few weeks.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, because after that, the following week I had the back and forth with the sports authority director.
Yes. For the Akwaso questions, Awebusa responses, what is your impression about your public service in general?
It's rotten.
For everything you've heard,
it's rotten.
Public service,
extremely rotten. Obi, in fact, let me catch up your committee chairman and say, I feel some of the people intentionally allow infractions so that they can come before the Public Accounts Committee.
Really?
Because Obi, a bit more free Western North, free Volta region, free upper east, upper west, eba. Now you look at infraction now, Wamuba committee name for no. The whole infraction, about 6,000 Ghana cedis. But nipa 4, every district no, and now agency no, Abakra. So ebi amba appear Tuesday, I won't see mu Sunday. Now me do Monday.
Yeah.
Now oma ye but Tuesday. Now me see mu Wednesday. Now oma could do Thursday. And to share be 4-5 days out of station allowance obeji. Accommodation obeji hotel. Ebi wabeda na dan for ho Accra. Obedi feeding allowance. Nipa ba kono ni expenses are agency no be one so you be 5,000. Nipa 4 now ma no 20,000. They've spent 20,000 from the taxpayers' money
to come and defend
an infraction of 6,000. Because that 20,000 no call mukotokum. And you know the interesting thing is you ask yourself, say, one back now be some say, so do you have the documents to back it? See, I dabana auditors no last week. Now, as we speak, we are doing reports of 2022 and entering 2023. Now it means these audits were done in 2021 or 2022 over 2-3 years. Say you be auditor, me MP. Auditors ba audit me MP's common fund.
Okay.
And see, I've gone through the process. One did 2 weeks or assembly hall. And in 2 weeks they raise all the issues and give you the opportunity to respond with all the necessary documents. For example, me MP, makoto me the common fund ato football jerseys.
Yes.
And yachiche ama sport clubs ewo ho. E say obi an sign na auditors no bar. Omba hu say Sam George to jerseys 20. And now auto fridge 5. Why na oje? They are at liberty to call at random any of the people on that list to confirm say eyampa so that any say Sam George be kwakope obi din keke na wachuro eyampa say aban sika ye dey share assembly or as Sam George ni din that so as MP's common fund you know or they are nya or say or they are now when they call they want to get verification. It's possible say at times sanyamano ebia me as MP wa cry ya frame Makachen pan say call assembly ho my fresh stores release the money pan nipa no call no one sign enti obeba no stores beka say ya this best way ban MP 18 aka 2 eh why ni we check ya na we say asemasi groups me anyway one man fan ba enti auditors no be bisa for evidence on our certificate we bet me afre nkrofo no if they really received it they will come and testify and say just in the picture ya twa ayedi suggest in the bobo ni and a fridge no enie nyamedi ye nie they go and inspect and then that is certified in 2 weeks. After 2 weeks auditors ne free hoa they go and prepare their reports at the regional office or district office and let you have a draft report after 2 weeks until 4 weeks abe more. Within those 4 weeks you can still bring documents to correct it before they send to the regional office. They do an exit conference with you after 1 month. And then it then goes to region and national. You still have the opportunity to follow up for almost 2 months before the report is done. You have at least a year before the Public Accounts Committee will sit on it. But the week before one bebano and some documents no surface. Obi, why are we deceiving in this country? And you see, Obi, it's worrying because when you look at what is happening in 2016, the total amount of infractions. You see, you do a total amount of infractions. It doesn't mean it's all money lost. But the total amount of infractions and the public service was 700 million Ghana cedis. 700 million in 2016. In 2022, the total infractions was 12.5 billion. Wow. So from less than 1 million in 2016, from less than 1 billion, you are talking over 12 billion. 12 billion at today's exchange rate is $1 billion. Oh, IMF now a DH for 3 years. No, you're saying. IMF now a DH for 3 years. No, and you're saying. How much did they give Ghana for this second tranche? They stretched government like that. Yeah, 600 million. But infractions in our public sector alone in 2022, 1 year, 1 billion. Obi. Who are we deceiving in this country? The problems of this country are clear. I'm not saying politicians are not corrupt. Politicians are also very corrupt. But our public sector is rotten. Bisa won say minister bia be call ministry bia na is scandal wo. Yeah, can sports hunsem. The bia minister be call sports ho. In fact, are you aware that under the NDC in 8 years we had 7 sports ministers? Sure. The highest turnover in any ministry. I think ministers no, you say we a sports minister. Now you work shed them say katashishe dream ni proye say no. It is because the people there, the system there is corrupt and it corrupts you. And if you don't have a certain moral standing, you fall for it. And when you choose not to fall for it, they will set you up like they did to Muntaka.
Sure.
Like they did to Muntaka. Me Muntaka they no Messuanya and Frimo. Because you see, what you want to be a nyama bro. Oh, we fuck upon ye now was sign. We win ye now was sign.
Another big thing, baby.
That crow one by chain. What's now come now? Qua. Now the diapers. Any chichinga a shame. Would you wouldn't said there be a woman the banner was signed. And so when I was in the office of the president, I never took 4 coupons. When I served as a presidential staff, I never took 4 coupons. I'm in my 8th year in parliament. I've never taken any of the office supplies that parliament gives. Because me person sign for BBR. Because who started say we sign here? But bisa won say ensure ni biscuit ni tea nyama no ansa na obedi MP no
na ultimito
pen ni paper ni ade de eno na ultimito na was start say we sign na it be abeshe mama no.
And I think it's also good you served on a committee like the Public Accounts Committee, so you see at first hand some of the
rot in the system is just horrible. It's just horrible.
And it seems there is no end in sight.
Obi.
It doesn't look like it. Maybe I say you pull it down the entire public service structure.
You see, last year we took a position. The chairman James Coolidge took a decision. All procurement breaches. We won't listen to you again. We referred you to the Attorney General for prosecution. We referred over 180 cases to the Attorney General for prosecution. Obi, not one has gone.
Procurement breaches.
Not one has gone. Not one has been prosecuted. So maybe we need to begin to make examples. The Attorney General must designate a special unit at the AG's office to deal with referrals from the Public Accounts Committee. The Chief Justice must set up a specialized court. Like the way you have a traffic court, you have the land court, you have the human rights court for public service breaches. Whether it is a civil servant or a politician.
They will call
so that the cases don't spend 3 years, 4 years in court. They are fast-tracked. Dedicated prosecutors in the police service, in the Attorney General's office, and then a dedicated court. Obi, we need to let people know that there is a high price
to
pay for corruption. If we don't do it, our country is not going to get better.
The focus, so because of politicians,
but
Charlie,
Obi, there be a politician where you say, Obi, have you seen former MPs? MP are lose the election. What will be brave? Ministers, former ministers. I see minister where was coming and where was go and see. Hey, countryman, Songo. Oh, yeah, I'm on fire. I love you too. More fire.
This one
demonstration.
Demonstration in a professional way. Yeah, more fire. More fire.
Obeka.
Metro. Football day, more fire. Sure, absolutely.
Yes.
You know, if we don't have a high price to be paid for corruption, WIC, MP way, minister way. Have you seen former ministers send a home bread, Ebi? And I do one free officer, but go and check the directors in most of your public sector institutions and government agencies. Go and look at where their children are going to school. I'm not saying that they cannot do it legitimately, but Obi, if we want to call a spade in this country, we know where corruption is in this country. Look, the only problem they say, the political class believes they need to be complicit with the civil service that is corrupt, and not everybody in the civil service is corrupt. Again, I'm being very clear. And you'll be on yes, there are very decent civil servants and public servants in Ghana, but politicians think that it is an easy way to make money, and so they connive with them and participate in it and get corrupted by the system. Essentially, because they think that that's the easiest way. Yamami appointment 2 years, maybe I best 1 year, be a reshuffle, and Timaminya na menya. But bear in mind, Obama 1 million.
Yeah.
Just say 10 million.
About 10 million.
You get it, it's and eventually, but now NDC, ISA, MPP, ISA, and it becomes a political thing. And every time we make a political football, we don't achieve anything. Yeah. And in this country, well, I can say, especially under this administration, when you fight corruption, corruption will fight you.
Because he's saying higher senpai family. That's a nice way to introduce a interview. No? But let me say, I think I've received a few messages. Mekai Eddie Amamonafe, ya to Honorable Sam Nati George, MP for the Ningo-Prampram constituency. We say, Obi, my regards to Sam Jata George. Ask my brother. Also, then, if Mr. Mahama would make his appointment before his honeymoon, or it will be done on his return in an unlikely event that he wins this year's election. For the education of all, the salary of the GRA boss does not pass through the Controller and Accountant General, so it is erroneous for my brother to say Reverend Amishadai's name automatically should have gone off the payroll when he attained 60, and so he caught a ghost at park, where God and Asari Bediakon and on the way. But you get his drift?
Oh, but listen, every public servant is on the public payroll. Every public servant is on the public payroll. You have to, especially when you are paid by the public forget allowances and things. Your base salary is on the public payroll. So you can't say you're a public servant. Yeah. Who is being paid out? Except Gordon is opening a new scandal that people are being paid outside.
Maybe the
payroll management system.
There are some parastatals. Like when you work with ECG, for example, the company pays itself.
Yes, but you see, once you're
I don't know the GRA arrangement.
Once you're a public servant, all public servants have to be biometrically verified. Because the state needs to know. Because yes, it is ECG paying you directly.
Yes.
But that money is not ECG's money.
Oh, it's not.
It is the state's money.
Sure.
When we calculate the amount of money we spend on remuneration and we say 90% of our... But it's all part of it. It's all part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. But my free park for a while now. Now, share something you are very passionate about. The private members bill. I want our colleagues a pushy.
Oh, we will see. I'm very passionate. I say who come me home.
Oh no,
so say we are passionate about. Because me himself we are sorry about.
That's a good one. It's something we are all very passionate about. Yeah, what he emphasis here, and I know in Amete say I read stories online say Parliament approved 3-year sentencing before or maybe promoting LGBTQ activities near the he fan ye what with the bills is here.
My can say we first consideration.
Okay.
And normally with the bill, no, after the bill is introduced, the first reading is referred to the committee. The committee does its work. Public sittings and all of that, then we come and do second reading, then we start the consideration. Consideration, no, the main work, one of the main pillars, the committee work, no, committee, then after that, it now comes to the whole plenary. Committee, no, the report with amendments that have been agreed or proposed in the name of the committee, standing in the name of the chairman of the committee. In fact, on the floor, additional amendments are allowed to be brought in. Me say I filed new amendments. Honorable HMN Sambo's today or filing almost another 30-40 amendments on the floor of the House. Good. So now we have a cleaned up document. Based on
cleaned up meaning say all the concerns of various stakeholders have been
incorporated. Some of the amendments, because we move the amendment, the speaker will ask you for justification. Then he opens it for debate and say sometimes the chairman moved amendments, and as sponsors we debated him. And the speaker put it to a vote, and we defeated the chairman. There were times we even moved amendment. There was a time I moved an amendment as a sponsor. My co-sponsor Roxanne movie counter amendments to me there and defeated me. And his was a superior position. So all of those various, and some of the amendments are not even advertised. In the spur of the moment, our floor, it comes up. And say, for example, the Minister for for environment, Honorable Free.
Yes. So she also MP.
Solid guy, or a medical doctor.
Yeah, medical doctor.
Solid guy. He did a final amendment, Miriam Fida,
okay.
where he did an amendment to the definition of sex. Because we had defined sex to mean the biological assignment or at birth of male and female. Or see that be? I said, yeah, Adi. With respect to the chromosomal structure, and he did 5 further elucidation. Am I a say, Obi wa ube hu nenim say or se bema. Nanso wo checking ni DNA na oyoba. Enti na ubenya bema or jina ho. Who nenim to say bema but or nufu ni bibia or hips ni caves. But cause oyoba, and that is actually the most biologically sound way of determining sex. And you see, some of those things just come up on the floor. He didn't file an amendment, but on the floor, interpretation section of sex, no, and he introduced it. So all of those things have to now be put together by the drafting office and then presented back to Mr. Speaker. Then the House will look at it, say, Obia Phyllis said that is what we did. There's then the Speaker will move us to third reading. Third reading is the procedural. Or because the bill has been read for the third time, all in favor say, you can't, no, not bill, no, at Danilo. So you would say that we have done a lot of the work, but we're waiting to see what the drafting office will bring back. And it could be it could be a matter of days, it could be a matter of weeks, it could be a month. But
what was the story around 3 years?
Okay, so amendments na kano.
Okay.
So in the original bill, and again, Nami, I will say this again. Uncle I'm George Adani, police or person near Uncle for you or them. I don't care what you do in your room. And it's not our business. Now we with them. What we don't want to say, now we with them. I say a war between wo any partner. No. Say I will person with the barber, with barber jina me name a bonting. Who person would be come in my school. I could tell me ma. When you bring your private matters into the public space, they will be affected by public policy.
Sure.
Sure. Good. And so this bill is largely in response to the advocacy opening of LGBTQ office now in January 2021. February 2021 I'm here a statement say and then in August 2021 we laid the bill. Good. So in the bill original draft, the punishment for homosexuality, any of the forms of homosexuality, a fine. I think the minimum was 750 penalty units, maximum 2,500 penalty units, and then minimum or a jail sentence of minimum 3 years, maximum 5 years, or both. Judge, he will look at the case, the facts of the case now are decided. But in the case of advocacy, sponsorship, in fact, we call it promotion of, sponsorship for, funding of. Prohibited acts are LGBTQ activities. We don't put the option of a fine.
A strict jail term.
And I minimum 5 years, maximum 10 years. That was the original bill.
Okay.
Your core committee, would work on the committee and all of that. They say, okay, if this is your intent, we think you should make this a misdemeanor, make this one a second-degree felony. We're doing all of those alignments. There's a sentencing regime in Ghana. I didn't need a misdemeanor. You can't go beyond a certain time frame. And in the misdemeanor, we kept the fine for the offenses. We kept the fine and then said, minimum jail sentence 6 months, maximum 3 years. And we amendment. Then when we came to the funding and support of, we said it was a second-degree felony. And dropped it from 5 years minimum, 10 years maximum to 3 years minimum, 5 years maximum.
That's for the funding of.
For the funding of promotion. Of sponsorship of and those things. Obia or Wasika. And that what made this news was because the Honorable Afenyo Markin and the chairman of the committee, Honorable
Asante
Central. No. They brought some suggestions. They think we should rather make it non-custodial. Yen jail term no free. Na yen ma fine. And I mean they kept talking about how to reform the person. I said nipanan sachayena. I said share. And I was there. What are you talking about? Obia when you're Nisika, and most of the people who fund are not LGBTQ people themselves. They are not practitioners themselves. When you're the sika or the sika bay, and the idea you see a chain, yempe krum hano, or no the sika shemukina. Sani panon such a in a war. Because what bonnet trimu po say idea me pese meye ni. And so what reformation are you talking about? Or say and the ye custodial sentence na ye money pan fine. Okay, speak as if I will propose a limbra, propose the amendment, or see ye finding the pan 50 penalty units. On your 50 penalty units, no, who the best come 300 Ghana cedi. And then maybe say obia or no wasika or fund the LGBTQ. As so tree, I will see fashion manamu ye 300 Ghana cedis. Are you serious or are you joking? And so we debated it and we shut it down and maintained the minimum 3 years, maximum 5 years.
5 years.
No option of a fine.
That's for the sponsorship,
promotion and
funding of LGBTQ activities
in Ghana.
But is it not far-reaching? Because, for example, and for somebody who operates in the media, who is a content producer and all of that, they say me hey, and because our work as journalists, Emma inquiring say we have to be fair, we have to be objective, we have to make sure say all voices are heard. In the end, say will be a practitioner, but the person feels strongly about what is happening to LGBTQ for and I say na wabet na menim said the we interview na me na interview na only position is o feel says hadi was here makwayama ne koso, meaning said that person is likely to go for 3 years and me and my man is our platform so
media platform no. Okay, Obi, there are people who also feel very strongly say Obia most likely you won't see Obia when the 18 or your prostitution worker. It's consensual sex between two grown adults who just one chooses to pay for it, one chooses to charge for it.
Sure.
So Obi feels so strongly now Bass and Power Obama no kind somebody advocating for prostitution. Would you do that? I mean, the person feels very strongly about it. Say Peter Frache say Obijina Togo Embassy ni mana Lagos Avenue enye wo.
Yes.
And say other thing a woman sanipa no kwan say ombetina we feed so and push it.
Touch wood. Even if I decide to give that person the opportunity, there is no law I just say I will be held culpable and will be jailed. More so. Let
me give you another offense that will give you that has such penalties. So be better has this year. Now catch you say, "She, Chroma boys bro, girls also bre." But utumi ko be stock akra bi. Now there ye the nyama baba gum. Ye there won kofa omo ye nnu money. Won sika ba. Won mu nim bebe om de be find ye de be fa wo shop mu. Na there ye money laundry.
Yes.
Say Peter Frache eno shop no na wo ho enya wo dia enya wo hwe obi sika na ye wo shaman eno money laundry no and also how obia. But if you do that on this your platform, the Anti-Money Laundering Law Act will hold you and hold you responsible for aiding and abetting. Even with prostitution, aiding and abetting prostitution, that's why if you own a brothel where known for that police bet you. So even with prostitution, the current legislation, our Criminal Offences Act, will hold you for aiding and abetting. Which must say, and if you then willingly give your platform for the propagation of something that mrase, Obi, who can say you think is everything that the law says is not good that we all like? Obi, me nyamdi ye me waya also west one. Who can say me nya and come tam me angsa me boys. Now me share obi of MPP and me woman bunu so. We've passed an Anti-Vigilantism Act, and so you can do that. Whether you want to, whether you feel strongly about it, you can't. Because Ghana for dudwana say yempe. Yes, yempe, ye diaba ye mashe fie. Ama ya shisha mra. Said nya Ghana for dudwana see one penny. And me penal cannot supersede the desire and will of the majority of Ghanaians. Which must say, but it's different. It's different when you are engaged in, for example, there's an academic discourse, and in academia, for example, there could be the conversation about the role of LGBTQ in the spread of HIV/AIDS. That's an academic conversation. That's different from Obi Awabet now say no, we should not have the law. To say my say Obi sending me video. Obi say one woman demonstration against bill no so of reference for Obi say who said na dwe no mo ebom kakra because we see who hear one woman demonstration yet you are asking people to come and join you. Who want say before now who can won't see us here. Such a person you don't take them serious. But imagine that such a person comes to sit here and you give that person the opportunity to begin to say you should allow kids should be allowed to choose who they want to be and say allow and this is prime time, this is daytime radio. Daytime radio nkwala etika mu every school etie yen na nipa no beka say ese woma oba ebetumi ni oba aye ne awo pe any mema. I mean Obi, there are ethics and there are standards in journalism. You get it?
Sure.
It's completely different from an academic conversation in the confines of an academic space where you are making academic arguments.
But even in the academic space, there are standardized and credible academic journals.
Absolutely.
Which
are
also read by many people. If maybe in my research, I think say me who be in the research, I just it might be seen as promoting that activity. But if I publish in an academic journal, for example, do I fall foul of the law?
No, you've published academic work. Obi, in fact, even and J. Mensah Bonsu took pain to make a certain example in one of the clauses. Do I remember well? I think it's clause 12.3. And no, my name said I've even seen. There was this article by eminent academics, lawyers, Sheshi of blessed memory. They did, and I was surprised because senior lawyers, and Chairman Sambonsu, the majority that made that clarity. Because now we say we bema kana uko active play now we share atadiet say oba Sam George Manubecho. No, that's not what it is. It said intentional cross-dressing. With the intention to carry out an act prohibited
by this law.
act. And this law is focused on Obia washada she atadia ti se oba or bema washa atadia ti se oba esan se opese obetwi oba fufuro ana bema fufuro na oye bema o but washa atadia ti se oba na because opese oba seduce bema fufuro na oni na da as bema. That's a criminal offense. But Uncle Ebo White any play. Na obema bi Atias or bar. It is the intention there is not for a sexual activity. Which must say so it is clearly defined. Now Obi, even when you are accused of falling foul of the law,
you have a day in court.
You have your day in court. You will present the facts of the case. Oh, Madam Mami Judge, Papa Judge, Memetea, nipa ne baye, yedi enkomo. And I same way baye. Nipa ne can say ni in this context. In the basis of that, a expression of academic opinion. May I want to say a promotion of judge no betie. Oba request tape no. Obetie. Oba won say at the way there a academic discourse and say you are discharged and acquitted. Oba can say that be way there me who say what sheda. Now the nipa na ba ebisa a leading question just to raise these things. Because if you remember, I think it was in this very studio. It was with you. Me ba no, it was not you. It was your sister station.
Okay.
Evans.
Okay.
Or your interview be.
Okay.
And I mentioned as soon as they put me on, make a chance and no could make multimedia and he himself liable if the law is passed. Or say why? I'm catching and say, what free or be free a so-called a gay rights group in Ghana. First and foremost, our laws don't recognize gay rights groups. One on the platform, and then the panel catcher will say, one must celebrate gay pride events
in Ghana.
And now we'll be saying say a day, which days, what activities. Masa, that in itself is giving them a platform to promote something that cannot be said to be an academic discourse or the exercise of journalistic freedom. Which must say, because when you are now asking the person, and say this month you say it's Pride Month, what are your activities? Now Nipano man a platform. Now on church you say this day you better say until you better say go to this website and you will get further information. That is no longer academic and that is no longer journalistic standards. That becomes an enabler and giving a platform for advocacy
for a criminal activity.
For a criminal act.
The other thing is when I listen to you well, not just committing the act itself the punishment for committing the prohibited act itself, form as saying the promotion and the funding, right?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because Obi, what we are at risk at or of, people from outside are OMG contract. Ghana for Sika wa de mo OMG contract. So body rama womo. I can mention some of the biggest so-called supporters and advocates of LGBTQ. Ebi Wokrom Hawama was 7 with 7 different women. Now so they not promote homosexuality. Say wujidi say idea say we bema say wuni uyonku bema beda. I don't know 7 with a 7. So clearly you will see that it is not because they believe what they are preaching, but it is what they are getting from what they are preaching. And it is that advocacy. Obi, one more setting up clubs at secondary schools. What's the precise case now? Yeah. They're setting up clubs in secondary schools and giving incentives to young children. Grooming of young children. It's a criminal offense. So the real threat to us, foreign culture now, you say one the bet 2 years so. For a contract, one best say the fiber of our country, our moral fiber and our social fiber. Now, at the base of all of this, is to distort the concept of family. Obi, wouldn't say who papa, if ye, you were your mammy, and I were ye papa, your mammy your bar, ye papa ye bema. When you wouldn't animal, we a bema who won your bar. But she said, I want to catch him and say, who papa bet to me your bar. Now mammy su your bar. And now papa bet to me ye bema, now mammy su ye bema. What are they trying to teach the children? It is this attack on the family unit. That's why the bill is not just talking about human sexual rights, but Ghanaian family values. What do we regard as a family? We regard a family as father who is a male, mother who is a female, and children. And they're male and female. And that's why we're always specific in the bill to say at birth. Because so we're being very careful. Yeah. And in Parliament, I gave the example. Obi I say oba ya wo no bema o say oba wakodi boni ya che no o say oba nti to me call mema prison ya na go share ma prison 6 months ma miensa anyam and they ban saying say America is fighting in its sports because obema oye swimming or we on oba last or the last you call swimming na school inter-school championship no they be all no way. Say I do see your friend Robbie Biom, your friend Rhoda. And as I say or compete against the man, and as I say no Odi gold, Odi first. So what bon want to me new young member be compete here. Now say there was we oba now could first for. And even American athletes are being kicked off. Female athletes are being kicked off. The American Olympics team for transgender males. Sebi pretty with the greatest of respect to your listeners. Some question same way. And ya dear I say yanko patch or say you're from Brian. No.
And that's why you see, and I say sponsors new promotion, that act of promoting and funding to be even more serious.
And that's why we are going after it.
But since year 2024, which is an election year, parliamentary resuming, are you confident, sir, this bill will become law this year?
Oh, why not? I want to believe, sir, Omampenyin Nanado. Was it an Anglican church? Or called Asorebi Mountains?
Yeah.
I think it was either the Anglican or
maybe you could make it public. Yeah,
Anglican church. Yeah. And I can say it will never, homosexuality will never happen under his watch. I mean, there is no greater opportunity to walk that talk by accenting to
the bill.
In fact, this bill has the full approval and support of Omampenyin, the Attorney General. And let me put it on record because you share Attorney General on this bill. And when we finished, Ofremi, Godfrey Dami, and you can call him. You can call him. Godfrey Dami Fremi, I say, Sam, come. Yesterday I heard you in the media. You were saying that I don't support the bill. You have seen the work I've done with you to clean up the bill. please go to the media and grant an interview and
say,
tell them that I, Godfrey Dami, Attorney General, I support this bill. I am against homosexuality, and this bill has my support and clean bill of health. Godfrey Dami's own words.
In the to his credit, you are making this announcement.
And I am and I did it. My friend Evans, and I'm a catcher. I said, Evans, I beg you, and me can be or will show so. Say I wasn't sure the Attorney General was supporting, but he showed me in about 2.5 hours of meeting his support, and he requested that I put this out, and I put it out. And so I'm repeating it again. And so I don't see why, because when the bill goes to the president, Obe bisa the Attorney General for the opinion. Opinion no na must state Attorney General Akandada. I don't, and we have not changed anything from what he said. In fact, the reduction in some of the lengths, are because of the engagement with the Attorney General. And everything the Attorney General wanted, we've done. So I don't see how the president will not sign, because the Attorney General is on all fours with us on this bill. Which must say, and I'll catch him say, Sam, I'm a child of God, I'm a Christian. So I don't want to. Let's not preempt the president. I want to believe, said the president, and it's not just about the Attorney General. The president is going to listen to the mood of the country. Asofo etechi, kremofo etechi, nananom etechi, ahimfo etechi. So everybody in Ghana seems like even the CDD's own research shows that 93% of Ghanaians
they abhor it
and don't want to see it at all. And this is, I mean, so for me, you hold power and trust for the people. And I still, I mean, I've heard all the rumors and I've heard all the insinuations people have cast, but on this one, Miss Sam George, I want to trust Nana Addo Dankwa and believe, say, obey nia eye ma ye dachi ma, and he will sign this bill in line with the words he himself has spoken. Because look, Obi, on this bill, there are senior people in the MPP who've picked the phone and called me and said, Sam, you know, nya dream will be BMO, but I did wait there. We bump by mouse and your mouth contenting. There are people who meet me and say, Sam, I don't like your politics, but on this bill, I have your support. This bill has cut across the whole country, irrespective of your faith, your religious belief, your political affiliation, your age. They are Gen Zs. Gen Zs. Hey, for the same by Twitter, no. One who pressure and go did to me so say, and then a bill need no any Gen Z for. And I want opinion for baby bloomers. Obia FATG. So I'll be shocked that the president will take a different stand. So I know let me err on the side of caution and say he will pass it.
Once the bill goes through all the stages, the president will assent, and this year it will become law. Okay. Ekosi saying the higher senpai, if I'm honorable Sam George, NARTEY and Komo. We still have some few other issues to touch on and Sunny the interview, Abba Area or Adventure. Let me remind you once again about our WhatsApp number. And let me see. WhatsApp number is 0548 443 523 0548 443 523. Na yentie unso wadwenkyerɛ ene de wo emayen. I would love to hear from you. Enti few messages na fe yentwaso obi ask Honorable Sam George if the law defines what an intent is or what would constitute an intent to seduce a same gender. I think that would be a very difficult task for prosecutors to prove in court if not clarified. Alhaj Suleiman and Alhaj, and Alhaj, the courts a way of establishing intent. Yes, it might sound difficult for you as a layperson, but in court, the court would establish intent. There is a way the court establishes intent.
The facts of the case will establish the intent and all that. So people who feel say, oh, you see, you pass it law, you chobi na you court and so on. No, everybody will have their fair day in court.
Sure.
And there is a burden of proof on the prosecution.
On the prosecution.
The burden of proof is not on the accused.
No.
It's on the prosecution.
It's on the prosecution. Indeed, if there are doubts about how you've established a way now, then the person walks free. Kindly alert Honorable, if it is 50 penalty unit, then it should be 600 Ghana cedis and not 300. Please verify for us. Godi or Tema. Godi, thank you. Where's Obi? We need this bill passed, and so Parliament should take a cue from the legal position of the President on the anti-witchcraft law. Can they do something about the custodial sentence so it doesn't become a burden on the consolidated fund? And that's another interesting point. I'll pick Sam's opinion on that. With the benefit of what happened with the witchcraft at the end, he makes the point, can Parliament do anything about the custodial sentence so it doesn't become a burden on the consolidated fund? Well, one of the arguments the President made
that
in
argument, respectfully, that argument by the President is flawed, with the greatest of respect to the President. So who can say it's going to introduce a new cost now? It doesn't hold that way. You see, the prisons are like a revolving door.
Sure.
Ebi komono, na ebi ba. So unless the President can establish, say, the effect of the witchcraft bill, and the effect of the anti-LGBTQ bill, by increasing numbers beyond the existing numbers, because as and when people are prosecuted and incarcerated, if they have to be, there are people who are completing their sentences. And also coming out. What am I saying? And you see, the President's actions in that whole process, especially with the witchcraft bill, is unconstitutional. The President doesn't have the authority to make that determination. See,
the Speaker hinted on going to the Supreme Court.
And I'm still encouraging the Speaker in Parliament to go to the court. Because you see, there's separation of powers. It is the duty of, you see, because of our history, we've allowed Parliament become so weak. Because when Parliament is so weak, it strengthens the executive beyond measure. But the executive should not be the one telling us, say, Parliament, you need to be no. The whole separation of powers, the legislature is the arm that makes laws. We ought to originate laws. Laws ought to originate from Parliament. The executive is supposed to implement the law.
The laws.
Not to formulate the law. Implement it. Na ubeye wo de beye adwuma ye mrane na wo executive wo feel say mra ya no enya wo de then you go to the judiciary to interpret mra Parliament apase say wo aban mra we ya Parliament aye no me feel say emboa then the judiciary will independently determine say Parliament mo fumwa ha and executive Parliament is correct. Say citizen be say Parliament ye mra no na aban de ye adwuma. But citizens be feel say some run Parliament ayema abino. It tramples on their rights. They also go to the judiciary.
Article 2.
But it is not for the President to sit down and say, oh no, and he thinks and he's returning it. Are you the judiciary?
But in the law-making process in our country, the bill doesn't become law until it is assented by the President.
He's supposed to accent. If he won't accent, he's supposed to state his reasons why. That's it. He doesn't have to. He doesn't have the authority to pass judgment on the processes of Parliament. No. And even when he refuses. And I urge Sosu to explore this because Sosu is the sponsor of the private members bill on witchcraft.
Okay.
When the President, after 6 months, he's supposed to issue a white paper. He's not supposed to write back to Parliament and tell Parliament, say, no. But even when he refuses to sign, Parliament can then on the application by the sponsor, put a vote. Yenya 2/3 say President and sign you or sign you.
Law, sure.
So I mean, if we all
then you have that way to explore. So why is it not?
No, that's what I'm saying. And well, I'm reaching out. I'm advising my brother Sosu. He's the sponsor of the bill, the witchcraft bill. Okay, and I'm saying to him that we all, in fact, I don't think there's anybody in Parliament who supports the work of so-called witchcraft hunters.
Sure.
We all believe, say, the witchcraft camps must be closed. And to inform Parliament and subject it to a 2/3 vote, I'm sure we'll get 2/3.
You'll get 2/3.
You understand me? But I still believe, say, Parliament must go to court for the court to rule, not just about President Akufo-Addo, because private members' bills will not end today. And look, Parliament has been so pushed into the until Professor Mike Eronokwe everybody knows me and my Gokwe. We had our fights in Parliament, but I will always give him his credit for what he did with private members' bill, because what's here president now? The president's position, and it makes me understand why when the president was in Parliament we didn't have private members' bill, because that's their thinking, and that thinking is wrong. If that is the position of the law, then we should shut down Parliament. You don't need Parliament. Like the military dictators do, the military hunters used to do, decrease. AFRC decree, PNDC decree. They didn't need Parliament to do anything. One more year decree now, no. The courts work with it. Because if you are saying, say, Parliament on our own, because if you take out the custodial sentence, and you are saying because of cost to the state, I told you, Attorney General, no, but 2.5 hours for your home. 2.5 hours, nobody, sad time, so then it means that Attorney General cannot be involved in any processes of Parliament. So you see, you are moving that whole thing about financial cost to the state to a certain absurd level. If you see police for now asks, are they recruiting new police because of anti-LGBTQ bill? Nana. And your existing prosecutors now we are not going to give them additional salary because of that. And so you see, these are weak arguments that are being pushed just to muddy the waters, on it. Yes, but Charlie,
fantastic. Inti maybe mate the Ivory Coast coach na say so no near so mate and obey driver no the omo win tournament. You've heard that analogy.
There be now ono onye mate ono ho ono wan hu mate na ohun hu say assistant driver. Utina STC your mate your driver and your assistant driver. Utina STC for Accra Ekotamalia.
Yes.
When you say driver mean no work and
drivers too.
And a mate nso wom.
Mate conductors.
Yes, conductor no Sana Nigeria for frame mate. But here they frame mate. Good. Mate wom and I what drivers mean no ba kun be drive free akọ do techiman na ba kun afa free techiman akọ.
Yes.
And your assistant driver and I your mate. Because me tie omampenya be de chire ba omia. Oba asada no o say Oba interview. Yaman ejuma dada. Enti obey accountability on ejuma ye de ahye nensa. On the basis of that, no, yen man no ejuma fufuro. And yes, sir.
Yes.
Me as an interview panel, no, ma marking a 0.
0 for everything you heard?
Oh. Obi. Yen fan say, ora kwesi chum. E fa wo ejuma. Fa wo ejuma say we a host. Be a host of the show.
Yes.
Now, Wabe now has 7 years. 7 years. Now, Ube ya no, say position be for a management position. Now I go catch and say, ora kwesi chum. 7 years no farm ejuma as producer or production assistant. Who say kwesi chum be hwe we. Esan say ofa wo say be ye host of the show. One fa say be ye production assistant. Yamfa ba umia say ombe mate o. Ye fa say ombe assistant driver. Uhwe constitution ni mo a, the requirements for the president are not different for the vice president are not different from the requirement for the president. Entina Ikuadonko was disqualified 2 elections ago. Esan say ni running mate ni AD 39 or in D40.
Yes.
But uhwe mate ni driver requirements ni are different. Assistant drivers me no na omo STC no. Omo ina omo driving license. Omo ina ye hwehwe omo nim. Omo ina ya make sure say omo ntwa bi. Ansana omo kotina stage. Mate. Why na checking mate driving license? Mate why na checking any? Mate no do na omo twa bi da ansana omo start ejuma no. Enti say ya fawo assistant driver. Na 7 years actually. Assistant driver na ye fa no say eno de wan nya ho adwuma but mate adwuma na afi na mete nyama bebre a Dr. Baumia ye na watwetwe bi
but that's
Debbie, you know when I say that I'm not saying say literally I'm saying to you say we a driver who go trick car won't mean trebi mate de obi mbisa o say watwe bi na wentwe bi.
No, but the point is that despite that analogy na we're painting and I sometimes wonder why we have certain debates in this country. Is it not clear say the powers of the president are different from the powers of the vice president? Is it not clear? Why are we debating this? Why you don't know that?
Dr. Baumia, Abra Otro 170 questions, Mr. Atano, now on him.
And what's the point?
The point is, on any marking scheme na yedi mano. Afei de or say, bibia atunchima e wa ban ne mo no. Eno de enye ono because on the oye mate.
But he didn't say that in the speech. You are deducing that from the speech, and it's not fair on him because he started by defending the record of the government or a part of
Obi. Everything that in his own opinion went well.
Yes.
Or say no yeah. Everything that didn't go well. Or say no there. Ye man akwenya obaba ye ni there. Obi. We need Dominic. And a produce show and a show way.
Sure.
Good. Imagine say Sam George abat na nyame pengu and mambe di nkwasi assembly wo show way na NMC for afre. Na se say NMC for afre mo. Na kwesi chum internal meeting of remo. Na waka chere kwesi chum say me de Dominic na frɛ Sam George o. Enti Sam George ba no me de Dominic afrɛ na enti me ne hu ye but we Dominic free ho a next time me Sam George ba me pam no. Abra Sam George bet na ha no na bisa me asem. Na otutu ma no. So when Bawumia is sitting there today and saying to us, say, despite the remaining 10 months of this year, Odasuye mate
or vice president,
Odasuye vice president. I just say yes, ko to abamano. And sana ebe to me e-levy, bet tax, any emissions tax. Obi, and sana nanado ni Bawumia ebe di o my way nim no. Wunim e-levy bi?
No.
Wunim bet tax bi?
No.
Wunim emission levy bi?
No.
Why na di buy?
This government.
Nanado ni Bawumia. Na Bawumia na yet the head of economic management team.
Yes.
Ono na ohwe tax policy so. And na odi call cabinet, e defend the cabinet. E-levy no, me mean na cabinet. Meaning say won so I just say oh ye fra cabinet, but me meaning say
na cabinet.
Na cabinet. But when him say party general secretary they ought na cabinet. Any chairman. And a minister for information so tina
as
cabinet.
Observers.
Yes, but one mutin and bibia ekoso no one mute. Okay. E-levy buy no. Kojo pon kruma. Oye aban kasamafo. Minister for information. O te cabinet ho. E me catch say another na NDC for mu ye dey say Bawumia on kasa. Ade no E-levy no. Bawumia na hihye E-levy no e dey buy.
Kojo say wan kasa.
Enye no kre. Kojo ye menua enye no kre. Upa Okasa was City TV. Interview with Bernard Avle. Tape no you bet to me abo. But met to me a kind exactly what he said. Amount, if you want. Or see. Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah has disclosed that the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, played a key role in arriving at the fine details of the e-levy. According to him, the Vice President actively participated in meetings to ensure that the poor in society were not adversely affected by the implementation of the e-levy. He said it was the instrumentality of the Vice President that the 100 Ghana cedi threshold for mobile money transactions was included in the bill to ensure that the poor were protected. And see,
but that is in line with the position on this whole e-levy thing. Because he had said in an earlier interview with Sefa, say, no, Ophili said the poor would be affected if there is a way the poor can be exempted. And when he got the opposition, he pushed for that earlier position. So he's been consistent.
No, Obi.
I didn't know.
Obi, the whole e-levy.
Yes.
The drafting of the e-levy.
Yes.
See, it's not only about the exemptions. They gave the exemptions as one of the things he did.
Yes.
As one of the things. But the whole e-levy, say e-levy, would we have needed an exemption for the poor?
No.
No,
but granted, say he even did that.
Yes.
Now, or say on your opportunity to obey here free. What's wrong?
Obi.
He hasn't got the executive authority to do that today.
No. Obi.
He can only try to convince his boss. The boss can say, what can he do?
Obi. When you say Bawumia our website.
Our website, sure.
Bawumia 2020.
Sure.
Who course I pay website in this one? Who click on the link Meet Bawumia. The biography, Beba. Biography in it. Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia is the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana. He chairs the Economic Management Team, which is broadly responsible for shaping the government's policy and guiding their implementation. He's at the forefront of a broad inclusive development strategy in Ghana involving, among others, the leveraging of digitized government services to transform the delivery of public sector services and digitizing the economy. Obia onankasa autono or say ono no chair economic management team. Now Omejumani said they shape government policy and guide the implementation. And he said catch us all your mate. I no there only to me or the baby bia. He said or no beka. That's not what he's saying. When you say you shape something and guide its implementation, you are integral to both the formulation and implementation and execution of it. And see, again, I'm just showing you how Bawumia is conflicting himself.
But per our constitution, decision making in government is done by cabinet.
I am daring the cabinet Bawumia team to show us any evidence, say, or the document from economic management team, ECO cabinet, said they are opposed to e-levy. And if the economic management team he chairs was opposed to e-levy, then who introduced it? Because the e-levy was introduced as a tax measure by the economic management team. He chairs the team. So if he was opposed to it, who introduced it? And if Bawumia is, for want of a better phrase, and with the greatest respect, so useless in the cabinet scheme of things at cabinet, not him as a person, that's what I'm saying very respectfully. If you are saying, say, ni cabinet, there is no use for him in cabinet, that as head of economic management team, on a policy issue like a tax handle like e-levy, you can't say e-levy best solve your problems. They couldn't listen to him. Then it means the MPP doesn't see Bawumia as even a serious person.
But in principle, you and your colleagues on the minority were vehemently against e-levy. If we've gotten to a point already, former President Mahama Akaso Nyakwaya obeye free ho. Dr. Bawumia Nso Akaso Nyakwaya obeye free ho. At least we have the two leading candidates in one accord on a policy. Why should we be having this debate?
We are having this debate because Ghana for say politicians they are truthful. You can't de back. You not to me no na you are the fufro. Open your phone lines right now and ask Ghanaians. Yes. That is the impression Ghanaians have of politicians. And it's important that we begin to hold politicians to a high standard of ethics. Say, so obisi obey idea. You see, kwasi obeba wontuma. Tieniding. If Bawumia, as head of the economic management team, introduced e-levy, and I did a Facebook post asking my colleague MPs, one more TISA program na say wo UPSC. Bawumia can say obes crappy e-levy na omu ba omu say me stress. Bawumia insulted them.
How?
Bawumia simply said to them that their sense of judgment is faulty. Bawumia simply said to them that they are not serious people who should be taken seriously. Mustafa Yusuf, Minister for Sports, you born in punch amanini pae over e-levy. Ya kuntokwa ewo parliament over e-levy. Intokwa ne mun obi bo Mustafa enim ema nini pae. Because they were fighting, because they believed, because Bawumia had told them, they're the MPs. Say, government needed e-levy to fix all our problems. Papa Penyin to say Amwakwata. Can say e-levy bar, all our roads will be done, our problems will be finished. Papa Penyin say, what was Sumano sebi kafra nkwasi Suma sent them to parliament to come and fight. It is all of those late nights. Parliament over e-levy that led to the death of Baswa. We stayed in parliament till 1 a.m. Baswa BP Kosro Okodru Fieno Wansoribium Kumewu MP. A life was lost because of e-levy. Then, in 2 years, less than 2 years, you the same person who sent them to go and fight, who say, Ubetrim, where is your credibility? Where is your integrity? And you see, when you put what Bawumia's political journey has been in context of Sir Adeweya, you know you can't take Bawumia seriously. John Mahama from day one said, I will scrap this. And I remember February 2022, demonstration was Brassport. I said, then General Secretary, I can say within 100 days, you best scrap e-levy. At that time, what was Bawumia? Why did he not speak? If the same Bawumia who said to Ghanaians, say, within 18 months, woman the Tumia, within 18 months, there will be no village in Ghana that will have a water or toilet problem.
So for you, the whole point is if you don't trust the words of Dr. Bawumia.
Oh, but Bawumia's words cannot not be taken seriously.
Okay.
Wait, wait. Bawumia, ebet now sister station ha.
Yes.
Building way more.
Yes.
Building way more.
Yes.
And now can say 100 days in office. 100 days in office. Bawumia be kan wa ha say wache dollar no. And now the keys no. Ama IGP. At that time, that dollar 4.2 and that dollar 12.7. So if Sanipano, if some catch also best scrappy taxes, so man to me for bioma, would you believe him? Bawumia and the Kojina Cape Coast. Abra any MPP manifesto mupo. Your man the microphone said Bekasana introduce the president, no, or Bejina Hoeka say Messi Airport, Ama Cape Coast. Cape Coast for air train airport. Bawumia na bet na Joy FM ha. And I can say, oh no. Obey president, he will move a vice president, he will move the country from taxation to production. Emma okasasa say NDC yentie bibia yebekana na assume there and all of that. Joy FM and Okai moving us from taxation to production as head of economic management team or the 40 new taxes. I bet 2 years so. Bawumia na ne can say. Obe make sure say Ghana ha ye best start say ye concrete na be ye kwan. Esan say tamamoto we a nkruma the concrete ye no. Ache sin asphalt de ni na. Onua bisa ho say concrete road ben e na Bawumia aye. Bawumia na kan say Zongo community bia benya senior high school. Bisa ho 7 years. Why you then? But
if you should go on this tangent,
can say
yes.
SHS Nibia 2023. SHS Nibia Benya laptop. One fat laptops now man SHS for. What's somebody now says see the university for and I'll be bomb bush and I'll laptop.
If you should go on this tangent about politicians' promises or my omontimiam for failure, then all of you are guilty.
Some are more guilty than the others. I won't sit here and say John Mahama. The beer John Mahama Akano. Why?
So that is not something you can.
But we are saddled with both of them.
Yes.
And I will look at the two of them and see which of them is more believable. I will look at the two of them and say, this one, for example, John Mahama, the minister, and then a down for a didn't come up.
Yes.
I can try and down for no say, me 1 million. Me die politics.
Yes.
John Mahama say wo krasa adwempona me hia wo ma abamu me pamo.
John Mahama couldn't have done that time and not a vice president. John Mahama did that when he was president with executive authority. Bawumia cannot do that because or a vice president. If he becomes president, maybe he can do that.
T Bawumia.
Yes.
Your friend Orabi James Kek Osei. James.
Yes.
Kek Osei.
Yes.
Onye Jumama Omampinyo.
Yes.
Oye Jumama Bawumia. Because argument now we and say Jumama is president.
Yes.
Bawumia is vice.
Yes.
James Kek Osei. Onye Jumama office of the president. Oye Jumama office of the vice president. Oye Jumama Bawumia. James Kek Osei. Oye Christoni. Onye Kremoni. A Christopher Obi who call Church of Pentecost. Who did Ramadan?
Dabi.
Means we call Perez yendi Ramadan. A Christopher yendi Ramadan.
Okay.
Yenu anu kremofo na di Ramadan. James Keko say a oye adwuma a oye Christoni a oye adwuma ma Dr. Bawumia. Edu Ramadan no. Otro letter e Dr. Bawumia on one kasa ni office letterhead. E di ko GRA say papa bi a Ghana ni bi a wato ono ni wakane emo abagana a obeton. Vice President say up or here sa emono for Ramadan. Ama womo ko G over 10,000 bags, 14 containers. Womo yi the first 10 containers, 10,000 bags. And womo ko yi emono wo Bawumia fie. Ama womo chi chair for Ramadan. Abe pie mu say eye
10,000 bags no Bawumia fie.
Oh, the office ni one of the properties ho na womo ye womo chi chair rights no to the various groups. Womo chi chair emono for Ramadan no. Ho na womo ye disbursement no. OSP Edi papa na court say because you say ye we are ade no. Papa na da so ye adwuma wo Bawumia office.
Yeah, na say papa no is under investigations by the OSP.
Bawumia office atro say Oma Jia tum say nya waye no. Wanye ni ye but omampeyin that abede no enim ho hwe. I'm showing you the choices Ghanaians have to make.
No, but we
are looking at two people and
yes.
seeing their commitment to fighting corruption. Bakun Nejumeni say owo adwempo say dachi onya 1 million na obejai politics. Yes, is adwempo no be ma wako wi ade. Obe wi abansika. Enti Jomama say enu de say wo krasa adwempo we de me ntwen ma wo wi akra kọ. Bako de Nejumeni directly working with him, ako we are 10,000 bags of rice. Ewo ni dimu, achiche no ewo ni dimu. Or that's only ni ejuma.
Because there is a presumption in favor of the man.
How is there presumption? The person has admitted, say, Wakoji Emono did not belong to him.
No, but you say he is under investigation.
No, he's been prosecuted. The case is in court.
But it's possible he can
the
be
OSP.
Wait.
Obi,
yes.
did Victoria Hammer commit any offense?
Yes, that is why he was not handed over to the police.
No.
But this person is being prosecuted.
No, because John Mahama doesn't want to be related and connected to corruption. He doesn't want to even have anybody who can think of corruption near him. Bas Brandon, Jifa Ativo, or see, and then Fumabemu. Abu Gapele sat in parliament with John Mahama. Oh, you're down for one more did bomb. Assembly bar about Jida. Yeah, then Abu Gapele called jail. He jailed his own brother over corruption. Bako de onine daso didi wo Flagstaff House. How can you equate these two people? One abhors even the thought of corruption. Bako de ye wia ewo ni din ye lele rice so ye wia. Jacob wia emo obia emo.
But before you
Obi,
are
this is not Obi. Look, if there was no prima facie case established, there will be no prosecution. You know that.
But the point is,
so
prima facie alone is not a guilty.
Obi, it shows
verdict.
you that Bawumia is a tolerator, a promoter, and an enabler of theft.
When the case is in court,
if he abhorred the activity of the young man, Obeka say me mfuaso. The mere fact. So what could you
know what I find interesting about this line of
it is even wrong that you will take the vice president's letterhead and write a letter. If the vice president claims they didn't know it, then it means even the vice president's office is dysfunctional.
But you know what I find interesting? What I find
there is no justification for this.
Bawumia,
and I'll give you more evidence of corruption.
The Bank of Ghana has come under intense criticism on withdrawing the license of somebody like Seydou Agungo and in the bank.
Yes.
Because the argument has been said, assembling power court, why do you base on that to withdraw Obi license? So why can you hold a position like that and hold a different position?
Because they are two completely different.
How are they different?
Why say Agungo?
No. The principle. Say assembly court, mean basi assembly court soon take a decision.
No.
The same thing here.
No. The Bank of Ghana was taking on because those licenses were withdrawn because of liquidity ratio issues. The banks who all had their licenses withdrawn was because they did not meet the liquidity access ratio.
But the narrative around Seydou Agungo,
Obi, don't choose the facts. Obi, wait.
You remember.
The reason why we have taken on the Bank of Ghana on Seydou Agungo is because Seydou Agungo's bank met the liquidity ratio requirement of the Bank of Ghana. But the Bank of Ghana added him. Who say who ye unkrofo sebita frache omusika enye. We nisika semye. But who say our court enunti who ye no. So even the mere fact that you are adding him shows that prima facie there is a bias against him. Now I am saying to you, I am not using an institution. I am using two people, two human beings.
Okay.
Two human beings who want to be the president of Ghana.
Okay.
And we've seen one president currently sitting there who has been, we've been told by his own appointee that he's the mother serpent of corruption. President Nana Danko Akufo-Addo. Now, we have to make a choice between John Mahama and Bawumia. And we are looking at someone who can help us deal with Katashishe Dream. And I'm showing you one who has a record of prosecuting people who are even close to him when there is an accusation against them, or distancing himself from others. And I'm showing you one who is, and all the people John Mahama sacked or got prosecuted, none of them carried out an activity purposely for John Mahama's benefit. John Keko say, Emona Wakobiano, or Chiche or Baumia Dimu, and Baumia is still keeping him at post. PDS are Adani Albatross are, according to IEA, you're losing $2 billion because of PDS. They don't know. Why did PDS become a fiasco? Because of Baumia.
How was it Baumia?
Baumia single-handedly took the PDS contract and changed the bank guarantee to insurance guarantee. Adia I say bank guarantee obi anim say bank guarantee the ninya ding. Insurance guarantee the fofofo. Now they said say PDS must bring a bank guarantee and I say omo fam bra and sana. Ye the adwuma no be hye omo san. But me I say wonem monjai men figure na for bank guarantee ben. Insurance guarantee in bra. Na enu kra po men fam ba wo de hye adwuma na ase wunya. So the PDS people took over the assets of ECG, started collecting ECG's money, and used that money to now go and raise an insurance guarantee. Besine, yesika 1.5 billion. 1.5 billion Ghana cedis. And that's what PDS for her. Baumia was responsible for that.
Okay.
Look,
based on this,
last one.
Yes.
Baumia is the only person in this government to have been mentioned in 2 undercover exposés. Anas Diana Oye, with Kwesi Nyantechi Kanadeng. Or see, Vice President Deo Obama on your pebia, but I say your appearance fee commando. You have $3 million on commando. Charles do wine. Need the answer by no. On also one more president ding, one more finance, one more bearding, or some Baumia ding, or so Baumia de. Yet the Sika Commander, obey Amau. And everybody in the government knows that Baumia collects appearance fees. This is a man who is engaged in a higher form of family and friends. Ni father-in-law, ambassador, ni brother, deputy CEO, waye onankasa ni sister, head of Northern Development Authority. Ni sister, and ayakoto tricycles, 400 tricycles. Ama yiraye. Besine, ye hu be 400 tricycles. 400 tricycles. Etu ti say confirm. His brother is at Ministry of Interior. I mean, what is this?
My final question, and it's you obviously are not a fan of Dr. Baumia. You wish he doesn't become president. Why is it, sir, any other Ghanaian or best taking a neck out, say, media me, I support Baumia? The NDC seem to come after that person. And I use the Kofi Bentil example. Adintia, is it a strategy now to cower people into submission and to gag them from expressing independent views?
Show me one person who has supported John Mahama that has been celebrated by the MPP. Then we can have this conversation.
Okay, the why one person that was supported
John
Mahama.
Me Sam George, I see me supporting John Mahama. Show me any MPP person now or bomb me about to say who supported John Mahama.
Yeah, but at least they don't attack you. They don't come and insult you.
Share messages, you know. Ebia di matem.
That's not what I'm talking about. You know that's what for more as politicians, you know. It's something you do. I'm saying, say.
Now, because of John Mahama, I'm supporting one of your politicians.
I'm saying, say.
Simply because I support NDC and I support John Mahama.
And I made a Kofi
Bentil
example.
Is not independent.
Oh, how is he not?
He's not
independent. But he supports Baumia.
Listen. Kofi Bentil has supported every MPP presidential candidate from Kufuor to Nanado and now to Baumia. That is not independence. Show me one NDC candidate Kofi Bentil has supported. Kofi Bentil endorsed and supported the Kufuor administration. Kofi Bentil endorsed and supported Nanado Danko Kufuor. In fact, he did do so and made it a campaign. He was so much on the neck of President Mahama. He campaigned openly for President Akufo-Addo. And the same people are going to bring I mean, look, don't use the word independent and Kofi Bentil in the same sentence, except you are using it as an oxymoron.
How is that an oxymoron?
Because it can't be. They can't be in the same sentence. Because that sentence will not conjugate. Il conjugate. You can't conjugate Kofi Bentil and independent. Look.
And do you honestly believe, sir, the attacks directed on him, is fair?
Attacks on who? But Obi, Kofi Bentil's attacks on John Mahama were they fair? Many of his attacks were misguided and not based on any fact. Kofi Bentil is on record to have said that he didn't like John Mahama because John Mahama created Dumso. Did John Mahama create Dumso? Did John Mahama create Dumso? In 1987, when we had Dumso, was it John Mahama? In 1997, when we had Dumso, was it John Mahama? In 2006, 2007, when President Kufuor marched the Christian Council pastors to go and pray for rain at Akosombo Dam, was it John Mahama? Yet Kofi Bentil, in 2015, said John Mahama is the cause of Dumso and still repeats that lie today. Kofi Bentil said that John Mahama took a Ford as a bribe. He has repeated that on several platforms. He said that under John Mahama's watch, a confirmed flu, when all of those things are not true. Manasseh Azuri Awuni sat in this your studio and stated emphatically that he never has evidence of any confirmed flying anywhere and that he used it as a joke. Kofi Bentil has trumpeted it. How do you tell me such a person is independent? It's like telling me that Ben Epstein is a credible poster.
No, me so as trade bullets in here, but the fact say Ufis on your independent say ne right to a choice.
He has a right to a choice, but I also have a right to scrutinize your choice and establish your independence and your credibility. Which must say, I have a right. The way he has a right to a choice, I also have a right to scrutinize his choices and interrogate them and say that, look, this choice he's making is not based on facts. It's based on other considerations, and you should come and tell us what those considerations are.
Will Greater Accra fall for NDC?
Certainly.
Greater Accra
will fall once again for NDC by the grace of the Almighty God. We will not sleep. We're going to do work. We're going to
Greater
work
Accra.
It will fall again for the NDC.
And I say seats ni bia moji free MPP. Ono muso mo sen abeje o made o.
I say obi abeka na adwin.
Lejokuku Yefreba Kwite Okaikwe North and all of those seats.
Na but you know English. But you know English man for am ji free.
No mo betimi age. Sly seat no.
When you say me dem was lie no edro. Most lie no edro. Sly who me din wo ballot paper or need ni ballot over journalist here. Obi am family free Ningo-Prampram ma but you know me won na no edro. Amasa man enya your seat.
Yes.
I know what are you talking about. We have our seats. We will take Greater Accra. We will work. We will move. We will campaign in this region like never before. We will deliver 24 seats minimum to President Mahama.
In Greater Accra?
Yes, we are moving from 20 to 24.
Hey, some Jojo can't say more.
Write it.
You are recording.
Yes. We will deliver 24 seats for Greater Accra. We deliver 24 seats for Greater Accra. For the NDC in Greater Accra. And I mean, over the weekend we had our caucus workshop, and I kept bragging there and saying that, hey, I am secretary of the biggest caucus in Parliament. Secretary of the Greater Accra caucus. We have 20 seats. That's the biggest caucus in Parliament. You understand me? Right now we are taking the Volta region, and I'm proud to say it. And we will continue to hold it. We will increase our lead, and we will make sure, by the grace of Almighty God, that we deliver both presidential and parliamentary. In Greater Accra, we are aiming to get at least 53% of presidential votes for President Mahama.
2020, munya percentage saying
51. And you know, it's weird because 2020 is the only time a candidate won Greater Accra and didn't win the presidential elections.
Yeah, it's true.
And we'll fix that anomaly.
In 2024.
Definitely we'll fix it again.
Some just made us say a best in Comobio. Ecosi Saints in the higher Sempa 94.7 FM. Yeah, so anyways, my main comment is the meaning Comowe Emra. But the mono they ever go. Yeah, your friend is saying Val's Day.
The mono.